Hello everyone, Logan here with Decode Your Reality, and today we're doing a very special presentation on how to decode you. How to decode yourself. You know, it's not an accident. There's no such thing as coincidences of why you're here. You purposely chose this, maybe consciously or unconsciously, but nonetheless, welcome. Welcome to this presentation. I'm going to leave a timestamp in the description below, so if you're not interested in one of these areas that I'm going to be covering, you can skip over and move to the next one. Make it easy on yourself. So these are the areas I'm going to be covering. And I may not be going too in-depth on some of these, like astrology. I'm just going to cover it quickly, but I'm going to show you how to maybe go in more in depth on these. So we're going to cover astrology, Western. I'm not going to be doing the Vedic today. A little bit on the Mayan Astrology. One of my favorites, the science of numbers, Numerology. What does your name mean? What does your first and middle name mean? And what about your last name? Where did that come from? How about your soul contract? I'll be covering things like that. Alchemy, which is the blending of energies together. Notice I have some elements of the periodic table here. If you know anything about alchemy, the legits of it is turning lead into gold. And that's exactly what you want to do. You want to turn into gold, folks. You want to become golden. Most people, unfortunately, will never get past the lead part. They'll be stuck. We're going to be getting into personality types, the Briggs-Myers. Very, very accurate. What's your type? The up-and-coming human design. What a fabulous system this is. It uses the numbers 1 through 64. And, you know, there are 64 squares on a chessboard. There are 64 codons in our DNA. This is extremely accurate system. We're going to get into the medicine cards, the Native American Animal Tarot. They have their own tarot, and we're going to be getting into that and how to read your birthday and a few other things. We'll also be getting into how to do your Totem Pole, which is based on the animal medicine cards. You're going to do your Totem Pole once in your lifetime, one time. I actually have a video specifically on this. And then, of course, we're going to be getting into the tarot. The ancient tarot system. How to read your name from it, your birthday. There's a lot of layers with this. And then, of course, one of my other favorites, the cards of Illumination. A typical poker deck, or a typical deck of playing cards, have extreme accuracy. Extreme. And that's because there's 52 cards matching the 52 weeks of the year. There's 4 suits matching the 4 seasons in nature. And of course, each suit, like clubs and diamonds and hearts, they have 13 cards each. And that is a direct sync to the lunar phases. So these cards are, without question, extremely, extremely accurate. And you can define your birthday in so many different ways, your name through these cards. There's many, many layers. So that's what we're going to be covering today. Let me just start up. So astrology will be the first one. I'm going to be jumping around, so please bear with me on this, okay? So what I wanted to show you today, this is a typical natal chart, an astrology wheel. And on the outside, right here, just follow my cursor, are the zodiac signs, the 12 zodiac signs, which is just all theology, matching the 12 disciples, the 12 tribes of Judah, the 12 hours on a clock. You know, great significance here. And these are the 12 zodiac signs. Now, yours will be placed in different positions, probably. And there are some big standouts with this. Number one, you have your AC. This is called your ascending or rising sign. And then you'll always have an opposite. So you go all the way across. And you go to your descending or your DC, which is kind of your mirror. your mirrored self, your unconscious self. And then you'll have what's called your midheaven, your MC, which is at the very top. And then at the bottom is your IC. Okay? And this is your cross right here. You'll notice the defined lines. Your crucifixion is right here. And then you'll have your 12 houses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then all the way around to number 12. This goes counterclockwise. That's how this system works. This right here will be your 6 days of creation, 1 through 6, as in God created earth in 6 days, so we can follow theology with that. And then we have these 7 through 12 in the light spectrum, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. So we have the 6 days of yin and the 6 days of yang. Darkness, light. Of course, if this is the equator right here, the sun would go down below the horizon and give darkness, and then you'd have the 12 hours of light. So you have the 24 hours here, but it's within a 12-hour spectrum. Notice that these are your team players, as I like to call them, your planet positions. At the time of your specific birth, these will be in specific positions. They'll be in specific houses. Now, what I'm breaking down here, because I'm going to be decoding this, is The Simpsons. And this is the actual show itself. It was first aired on the 17th of December in 1989. Of course, it was aired at 8:30 p.m. And, you have your latitude, longitude over here in New York, New York. That's what they picked for this. But nonetheless, this is the birth date of The Simpsons. And, look, I'm not going to go through each and every one of these houses. But what I do want to point out to you is how to read these, and then you can do it for yourself. I'm going to make it really simple for you. Because you probably, if you're new to this, you probably always wanted to know your astrology and what your signs are and whatnot. Well, here you go, folks. This is how you read this, okay? Here is the actual breakdown of the chart. All of your planets are lined up, and then these right here, these numbers, are the degrees at which the planets were in the sky at the time of your birth. They go from 0 to 30. 0 would be the least amount of energy, and then it'll go up to 29, not 30, and 29 will be the most amount of energy that that planet or team player gives off. For instance, the moon on the birth date of The Simpsons was in the sign of Virgo, right here, which is right here, and it was at 4 degrees. So it doesn't have a lot of emphasis or a lot of power that's been given off during the birthday of The Simpsons show, but that's how you would read that. But what's really important here is getting a definitive on this. So the moon is in Virgo. So if your moon's in Virgo, you would go, this is the website I kind of like, it's called alwaysastrology.com. There's so many, there's thousands of websites you can read from, but this one makes it really easy. So again, the moon is in Virgo. So we'd go here and we click on moon signs. And then you'd scroll down, and remember it's in Virgo, so we'd pick Virgo moon. And you get to read about the Virgo moon sign. And all you're going to be doing is just picking out what you resonate with and scrapping the rest. Because not everything's going to be 100% accuracy to yourself. This is just one artist's rendition of it, and you just pick out what you resonate with. You go back to your chart, and you just go around the horn here, and you go to the next planet. This is Pluto. So if you want to look at the chart, Pluto is in Scorpio. This is Scorpio right here. He's at 16 degrees, so he's about halfway. He's giving off about 50% of his energy. And remember, folks, these also relate to the chakras. So you have the root chakra, the sacral chakra, the solar plexus chakra, the heart chakra, the throat chakra, the third eye chakra, and the crown chakra. That's how these work. So this is a very important house here because this is the 4th house in astrology, meaning your heart chakra. In astrology, this means your home. This is pertaining to your home, your household, This is if a tree was to be rooted in the ground, the trunk would be right here. This has the origins of who you are, like how you grew up in your childhood and whatnot. So, but again, not to confuse you, but nonetheless, in the 4th house, you have Pluto in here, and it's in Scorpio. So we'd go back to our chart, we'd go down to the Pluto sign, click on that, and then go down to the bottom, and it was in Scorpio. So we'd click on Scorpio, Pluto sign, and we'd be able to read from that and get a rendition. Now, if you want more information on that to go deeper, just Google Pluto and Scorpio, and you'll get thousands upon thousands of renditions from different authors. And just find what you resonate with. And I'll give you a third example. You got Mars here in the 4th house, and Mars is at 29 degrees. So it's giving off a heck of a lot of energy in the sign of Scorpio. So you'd go back to the chart, always astrology to the Mars signs, scroll down, and it would be Mars and Scorpio. So you click on that, and then you'd read Mars and Scorpio. So as you can see, it's not that complicated. You can just always press pause, take this step by step, but that's how you actually do your natal chart in astrology. Now, if you get a really good astrologist, they'll be able to go much more in depth. Now, I do readings. My readings contain quite a bit of astrology. I also do Vedic as well. I know how to read Vedic, which is the Indian astrology, which has a little bit of a different variance, but very, very accurate as well. They don't use Pluto and Neptune in there. They only go up to Saturn, but they have different variances in there, okay? But I wanted to point out one thing on this right here, since we're talking about astrology. This house right here is house number 5. This is why astrology is super accurate. We're talking about The Simpsons show now. Remember, the birth date of The Simpsons television show in 1989. This is the energy that it gives off all the time when it goes through its episodes. This is what it was designed to do. It has 5 planets in the 5th house, which again is the throat chakra. This is the house of communication here, the house of manifestation. The throat chakra in the Vedic system is where we speak all our spells. It's where all our spell speaking takes place. And of course, what is The Simpsons all about? The Simpsons is all about talking to you and giving you a story. And of course, as you know, The Simpsons have predicted so many things in our matrix reality. It's just uncanny what they've been able to do, which is for a whole different story. But nonetheless, The Simpsons show is really, the main brunt of it is right here. You have the sun, you have you have Uranus, Neptune, Mercury, and Saturn. So there's a lot of energy. There's like a whole basketball team sitting inside the 5th house of The Simpsons TV show. The sun is all about expansion. Uranus, of course, is about the third eye and running the pineal gland, which is running your programming, which is quite fascinating. Neptune's the crown. Mercury's the planet of communication. And then Saturn, of course, runs the throat chakra, which he's naturally comfortable with in this house. So this right here, when you look at all this energy going on right here, if you have this going on in your natal chart, it may not be in this position, of course, but this is called a stellium, which is where 3 or more planets are combining their energies in one house. Well, there's 5 in this natal chart right here. Now, did they plan it this way? Well, you know, if you've seen my work, folks, I believe that our matrix reality is fixed. I believe it's rigged. I believe there are actually time travelers from the future. As far-fetched as that may sound, I can really support what I'm saying. But nonetheless, that's for a different story. But this is very accurate when it comes to The Simpsons. I mean, Mercury is the planet of communication. Keep in mind, this is the sign of Capricorn, and a lot of these signs are in Capricorn, which means Earth, running Earth. And of course, Capricorn is the 10th sign, and 10 is linked directly to the crown as in the crown that runs this world, that runs this matrix reality. And, the Simpsons have predicted a lot of things. How's that possible? Because the Simpsons show they work for the crown, folks. That's the way it works. And you can't deny that right here when you understand the interpretation of this natal chart for the Simpsons. I mean, you forget all this other stuff. This is the main focal point, and that's how you read that, folks. So, to give you one more, here we go. Jupiter. Jupiter is in the 11th house. Jupiter is in the sign of Cancer. So we'd go here, we go to Jupiter signs, and we go down to Cancer. Jupiter is in Cancer right there. And you would read from that. And you'd be able to pick out what you resonate with if you have Jupiter in Cancer. Okay? So that's how to read a natal chart. Yes, I do readings. If you're interested in something like that, let me know. Inbox me. decodeyourreality@gmail.com. All right? So that's the first thing, is regular Western astrology. Now we get into Mayan astrology. And the Mayans have a little bit of a different take on it. Again, you need to read from these layers. Okay? All you have to do is plug in your birthday on this website. Really cool website right here. It's horoscope.com. I'll leave all these links in the description so you can just click on it for really, really an easy way to do all this. But nonetheless, I have February 15th, 1954. And the reason why I have that is because I have this guy right here, Matt Groening. We're going to be decoding this guy, the creator of The Simpsons. Now, I'm going to stand out on a ledge and go really bold. I'm going to say this guy right here is a time traveler from the future. As crazy as that might sound, that's what I believe. And I'm going to be decoding him a little bit because I believe he's a time traveler. But nonetheless, he was born on February 15th, 1954. You'd plug your birthday in here and just click on submit. And then you're going to get a sign. Here are all the Mayan signs. Now, Matt Groening's sign is death. Of all signs, he has the death sign. But that's just as fate would have it and what he's all about. So then you just click on the sign of death. It'll give you some things to kind of observe from. Your friend and foe, your basic color, your gemstone, the direction. We're talking, you can get into feng shui, and it'll give you a rendition of that. If you want to go further, just go type in Mayan Astrology Death, and you'll get thousands of other opinions out there and artist renditions so you can read from. Okay, so I'm not going to go too much into this because it's really basic and simple. Now we're going to get into numerology, my favorite. And the first thing I want to start with, folks, is your life path. Now, your life path is your soul contract. I think it's one of the most important things to discover about yourself because it's why you really came here. We all have an ego, and you're going to need the ego to navigate through this matrix. And, we need to be part of a system because the system's already created. You can create your own system, but what I'm talking about is earning money to survive and pay your bills and, live through life and live out your very best life. But your soul contract is something that your spirit is all about. If you believe in you have angels and you're connected to angels, well, this is what this life path is all about. Now, I'm showing the 9. There's 9 life paths, the number 1 through 9. And I'm showing this one because this is Matt Groening's life path. Number 9. And number 9, you can really move into different layers because 9, of course, is the number of endings and completions. And of course, it's the wisest number there is because it's the culmination of the numbers 0 through 8. So it's a very wise number. In the tarot, which is right here, the tarot, the 9th card is the Hermit. So it's a very wise card, or a very wise number. And I'm going to get back to all these graphics, so don't worry about that. But nonetheless, Matt Groening is a humanitarian, or at least he's supposed to be. A lot of people are going against what they're supposed to be doing, what their spirit really came here to do. They're not living out the life they're supposed to be living out. They're more service to self. Now, I'm not saying that's what he's about. I don't know the guy personally. What I'm saying is his numbers line up with being a humanitarian. Now, how do you get your life path? Well, you add up your entire birthday is what you do. And I'll show you how to do it. You can go to this website right here, gematrinator.com, or you can just take a calculator. And what you do is you just type in your birthday. So Matt is 2/15/1954. And you'll get a number 9. If you get a master number like an 11, 22, or 33, you would keep it as such and you would look up 11, 22, or 33. So remember that. But if you have one of these numbers as single digits, well then you would go ahead and read from the single digits. So you can go to many of these and look at them and read about who you are. Like the 9 life path, whenever I meet a 9 life path, I automatically know that they're really are here to be service to the world. They probably put people in front of themselves all the time. The majority of the time. They're helping people. They're part of projects, philanthropy, stuff like that. That's the 9 life path. And you can go read about that kind of stuff. And it's really important. And here, here's another, to do it again. How you do it, you just add up your digits. But you always want to add up all your digits of your birthday and reduce down, unless you have a master number, 11, 22, or 33. Then you do not reduce down. You read from a master life path. Okay? If I go here and show you that, master life path 33, well, then you have all these definitions. Here's the world of numerology, Life path 33, master teacher. That's because 33 is the mastermind. Those of you that study the esoteric, you know what the 33 is all about. Well, when it comes into line with numerology, it's the master teacher. So if you get one of these master numbers, you do not reduce down. It would be 11, 22, or 33. Now the next step in this, let me go back to my chart here. We're on numerology still. I want to stay on that so I can show you a little bit more how to actually decode your name. And I'm just going to stick with your first name. You're going to go back to this website right here. Now, first and foremost, I want to begin to tell you, when you click on this website, this is what's going to show up. This is what it's going to look like. Now, unfortunately, there are so many different, if you click on all ciphers, you're going to see, look how many there are. It can get really confusing. Now, it's really easy to get numbers to match up when you're using all of these ciphers, as they call them. So I'm going to suggest my system, which is getting rid of these ridiculous reverse ones. You don't want to use these reverse ones, okay? Especially when you're decoding your name. You want to go up to English. You want to get rid of that. I don't even want to use that one. I want to go down to Other and click on Chaldean. Now, Chaldean is the oldest known numerology cipher on the planet, as far as I know. And I've done a lot of studying and research on things. It goes back to ancient Babylonian times. So it has antiquity. It's a very unique cipher. It only uses the numbers 1 through 8. Okay? 1 through 8, and then it's all jumbled. It goes on what's called phonetics. Let me show you the chart so you can kind of get an idea what it looks like if you want to look at the actual chart itself. So this is the actual chart right here. You'll notice that each number lines up with specific letters, and they're all out of order. They're not in the same order as your typical numerology 1 through 26, A through Z. But nonetheless, it works on phonetics. It's extremely accurate. It's more accurate than anything else out there when it comes to numerology. All right? So, if you want to go ahead and decode your name, let's just say we want to decode the name Richard. Well, Richard is an 18. And the individual letters for Richard are these right there. It's 2135124. Now, in numerology, a really good numerologist will break down and combine, or they will bring together these numbers. For instance, you have Richard, it has 2 1s, it has 2 2s, it has 1 3, 1 4, and 1 5. That's what Richard looks like right there. And we can read off of those numbers and exactly determine what kind of person we are just based on the numbers alone. Right? It has a blend of all these numbers right here. So if you know anything about numerology, if you don't, just go right here to this website. This one's a really good one called affinitynumerology.com. And you can type in any number and it'll tell you what the meanings are of that. If you have a compound number, which means more than one number, this is 47, that means it's 2 numbers of 4 and 7, it'll give you the description of that, and then it will break down the individual numbers that this output is. And you can click on these individual ones. It'll tell you, like, here's the number 4. It'll tell you about that. So let's go back to Richard. Richard is an 18. Okay? And you can read about 18. So if we want to go up here, just move this here, go to 18. Now we can read about the number 18. Now the word Jesus equals the number 18. The number 18 reduces down to a number 9 because 1 plus 8 is 9. But you do not want to reduce down and get rid of this number completely. Every compound number, 18, 21, 26, 27, they will reduce down to a single digit. Every compound number will feed a single digit. But you cannot underestimate the power of these compound numbers. You want to read from these compound numbers specifically as they're expressing themselves. And then you can also separate the two. 18 is a 1 and an 8. That tells me right there, this is a number of great leadership, which is the number 1. Number 1 is the first number. It's a fire number. It's a leadership number. If you were born on the 1st, you're a born leader. You're somebody who needs to be a trailblazer, like, get out of my way, I'm coming through, don't tell me what to do kind of person. The number 8 is a money number. That's death and regeneration. It holds great power. So when you combine the two, it's a leader who has great power. Does that not sound like the character Jesus? Whether he's real or not is besides the point. But 1 is leader and 8 is great power. The leader of great power. That's exactly what an 18 means. And then, of course, it gives all its energy to the number 9. And the number 9, as I showed you, is the Hermit card, which is right here, folks. The number 18 gives all its energy to this card right here in the tarot. I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but nonetheless, that's how we're going to do numerology. And I'm going to be getting more into the numerology when I start to break down Matt Groening's name. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. But nonetheless, here's what you can do with your name and the beauty of numerology. Let's say Richard's middle name is James. Richard James. And let's say his last name is Jones. I'm going to put this in capital letters for great significance. Now, what I'm suggesting to each and every one of you is that your last name, you inherited it. Your parents didn't give that to you. You took that from your ancestry, your lineage. And it goes back a long way. And you can separate that and decode that from its own unique position. Your first and middle name also have great significance because that's what your parents named you. That's an individual name that will never go away. Now, if you changed your name, it's going to take some time for you to take on that energy. I don't have an answer as to how long that will take. There's a lot of opinions as to how that will start to express itself. Like let's just say this guy right here changes his name to Michael. Well, he will always keep his birth name. You'll always keep the energy of your birth name. But when it comes to the new name that you've picked, Michael, it's going to take some time for you to start attracting this number 22. Okay? So, Richard James is a 32, but it's a 14 and an 18. So what you want to do is you want to read about the 18 and figure out what pertains to you. You can go through all this stuff and read about it. And then you want to go to the 14. So now you want to read about the 14. Obviously, 1 is leadership, 4 means the builder. So it's the leader of building things. Gives all its energy to the number 5. 1 plus 4 is 5. So if it's a leader that builds things, well, the number 5 is all about manifesting things. So if you're going to be building something, you're going to be manifesting things. That's what a builder does. Now, it could be ideas, it could be physical things, could be many different interpretations. Totally, Richard James is a 32. So then you want to go here and type in the number 32 and read about the number 32. You know, that gives all its energy to the number 5. So it's a very busy name. This guy right here will never be able to sit still. 5 is the busiest number on the planet. It sits right in the middle of your dial pad and your calculator. It can never sit still. It's always having to do things. 5 is the number of manifestations. So this guy right here is born to manifest. Even though he may be a leader in building and he may be a leader of power, it will combine together to be someone who is here to manifest things. Now again, what about the last name, Jones? Well then, the total numerology output will be a 53. And of course, it leads to the number 8. So this guy right here, overall, when you read it this way, he's here to be a powerhouse, because that's what the number 8 is. 8 is about death and regeneration. 8 is on the level of money and earning things. There'll be a lot of ups and downs in this person's life because 8 is about death and regeneration. The number 53 you can read from as well. So you have to go here, type in the number 53. It's going to give you the number 8 anyway. So you can read about 53. Go down here and it will give you the number 8. So you have the 5 and 3 individually, 5 and 3 as a whole, and then the number 8 that it reduces down to. So this is a great website to get some of your nuggets for numerology and figuring out what your name is. And again, I believe this is the most accurate numerology cipher on the planet. You can read from other ones, but I can assure you they will not have the accuracy that Chaldean does. Not by any stretch of the means. You can go ask any real professional astrologer that knows their astrology, numerology, and they'll tell you that Chaldean is by far the most accurate system there is today. So if you need help with anything, inbox me and ask your questions. decodeyourreality@gmail.com. It's pretty simple. I think I gave a pretty decent outline on numerology, and we're going to come back to that because it has everything to do with some of these other layers that we're going to be decoding from. So that was numerology. Now we're going to get into alchemy, which is how to decode your name using the elements of the periodic table. Just what element do you represent, or what element represents you? Some of you may end up adding up to the element gold, this 196. And then you'd ask the question, well, what does that mean? Well, when you bring all these layers together, all the ones I'm showing you, you'll find the answers to your question. You just may not get it right away. But it's a constant educational process, is how to decode yourself. It's never ending. I've been doing it for over a decade, and I continually keep finding tools or books or authors' renditions, of how to decode myself. But anyway, how do we bring alchemy? Alchemy is just, the definition is the blending of energies together, and that's really what we're doing as a whole. This entire presentation is nothing other than alchemy. But alchemy is turning lead into gold. That's what you want to do. You want to turn your lead into gold. You want to become gold. And that's defining who you are. So let's go to that. Let me show you how to do that using Matthew Abraham Groening, the creator of The Simpsons. Now, the first thing you should do is, of course, go to your numerology, type in your name, and you're going to get your output. Here is his full birth name. Now, he goes by Matt Groening, which professionally we can decode that as well. That will give us another layer to observe from. But nonetheless, this is his birth name on his birth certificate. This supersedes all other ways of the spelling of your name, in my opinion. Matthew, he goes by Matt, but Matthew is the big standout. That's, your first name is what everybody pretty much refers to you by. So you can decode yourself that way. So Matthew, the way we do alchemy, folks, let me zoom in on this. So you'll notice Matthew is a 4144556. Totally it's a 29, and we're going to come back to that. But it's a 4144556. So now we want to get the elements of the periodic table to match those numbers. So we have beryllium number 4, hydrogen number 1, beryllium, boron, carbon. Matching these right here of his Matthew. And then we want to add up these elements. Now these are the most abundant weights of these elements. And what I mean by that, folks, and this is important for you to pay attention to. Here's the periodic table. When you start to decode your name, let's say you have a number 12. Say one of your letters, well, actually, it's not going to be a 12. You're only going to go up to the numbers 1 through 8. So let's say you get a number 8 and you get oxygen. You click on oxygen to get the weight. This is the average weight of oxygen. You want to go down to the oxidative states and isotopes. Click on that tab and you're going to see that there's 3 different isotopes for oxygen, 3 different weights. The most abundant one is 99% and it's 15.995. Okay, there's other weights on here. So it's a little bit different than 15.999. This is the average. We want to go with the most abundant. Let me give you another example. Let's say you have a number 7 in your name, nitrogen. The average is 14.007. When we go down to the oxidation states and isotopes, you'll notice that the most abundant mass or weight of nitrogen is 14.003. That's the number we want to use when using your calculator to define who you are through alchemy. So go back to Matthew here. Here is his elements for his first name. When we go over to the calculator, there are the weights, and the trusty calculator gives us an output of 62.062, which, if we want to reduce down, which you can do that, it would become an 8.08. Now, if you've seen my work, that's the very one reason why I believe this guy is a time traveler, because Marty McFly in Back to the Future had to get the DeLorean to 88 miles an hour to time travel. This would be 88. You can reduce it down and observe it that way, but that's another layer. I want you to understand that these numbers have great significance. So now what do we do with the 62? We have a feminine side and we have a masculine side. The decimal point separates the two, the feminine side and the masculine side. The next time you go pump gas, you'll notice that this side feeds this side. So the feminine gives birth to the masculine. And that's what the decimal digit is. It separates the masculine from the feminine. What can we do with this number right here? Well, we can go back to the periodic table and we can find the number 62, which is right here. We can click on that and we can start to really look at what this element's all about. Matthew is linked to this element samarium. And you can start to decode the origins of the name. You know, the name's derived from this word right here. So you can take that word, you can go into the numerology calculator, and you can put that in there, and that equals the number 26. So now we have another layer to observe Matthew through. Okay? And we can go down to the oxidation states and isotopes of samarium and look at how many it gives us. Well, the most abundant is this one right here, 151.920. So maybe your first name is going to link to one element. And you're like, well, what does that mean? Well, if you go to numberempire.com and you type in, let's just type in 62, because that was his name. And it'll give you all these outputs. Sometimes you'll get a prime number, like this one. Maybe your name equals 61, and it's the 18th prime number. What does that mean? Well, prime numbers are very, very important because they're standalone numbers. They can't be divided into in itself. It's a standalone number, which means it has massive significance. It has a lot of power in this matrix. The number 61 is linked to the element promethium. Promethium was the god that stole the fire from the gods and gave it to the humans. So there's a story in all of this, folks. You just got to start going back and forth. Like you can go to 61. So that's 61. You can click on 61. You can read about promethium. You can go into the uses and properties. You can read about this kind of stuff. And this is understanding who you are, because we're made up of these elements, folks. Okay? So that's getting the first layer of your name. And again, if you need help, just hit me up, decodeyourreality@gmail.com. I'll help you out. There's significance in your first name. What about our first and middle name? Matthew Abraham. That's what our parents gave us. Well, Matthew Abraham becomes a 93.113. So then we go back over to the periodic table, and we want to find the number 93. Well, that's linked to the element Neptunium. Now, Neptune, here's the symbol for it. It's named after the planet Neptune. And Neptune is the crown. It's representing the crown. So what does that tell us about Matthew Abraham? Perhaps he works for the crown, or he comes from the crown. And just what is the crown? Well, it's what you define it to be, folks. If you follow my work, if you follow my videos, you'll know the crown is really important. You know, it's really, really important. So is this telling us that he is from the crown? Was he born into the crown? Matthew Abraham. Let's keep going. What about his full name, or his last name? I'm sorry. What about his last name? Your last name you inherited. Okay, you took that on. Your parents didn't give that to you. This is an important one. It'll tell you where your lineage goes to. I mean, look at what his last name equals. The master number 66. Donald John Trump equals the number 66. Your vice president, Michael Richard Pence, equals the number 66. The current pope, Jorge, his name equals the number 66. Totally in numerology. So there's a direct link right there, which, again, I think Donald Trump's a time traveler, but we're decoding Matthew Groening, the creator of The Simpsons, who predicts so many things that have come true in our lives, folks. How is that possible? Well, perhaps he's a time traveler. Who are you? Maybe you're a time traveler from the future, and you came here to change the reality of our matrix. Don't you want to know who you are? That's why you're here. What about his full name? His full birth name on his birth certificate through Alchemy ends up becoming 159.186. The masculine's always the standout because the king is the piece you need to put into checkmate to win the game of chess. So I'm not belittling the feminine side, but the masculine, the king, is the one that you need to focus upon. And 159, what does that tell us? We go back to the periodic table. Now there is no element 159, so now we have to find the weight that matches that. Okay? Which would be right here. Dysprosium. Click on that. You'll go down to the oxidation states and you'll find that the 66th element has an atomic weight or atomic mass of 159, matching that of Matthew Abraham Groening. I just showed you his last name equals the number 66. This is his lineage. This is where he came from, in my opinion. And his full name is linked to the number 66 because it's 159. What does your full name add up to when you do it in this method? You know? You'll find nuggets about who you are and why you're here when you do this methodology, folks. And it may take you a little bit to figure it out. You know, don't expect an answer right away sometimes. Don't get frustrated. Just ask to be shown your true destiny. And again, if you need help, hit me up. Let me know. Okay, now we can go a little bit further with this. Now you've seen the alchemy part of numerology and the elements of the periodic table. What about the cards of illumination? And I'm jumping ahead, but this fits in with the narrative of numerology, and you're going to have an outcome like this as well. These cards right here are all numbered, and what I mean by that is when you go to, if you need these graphics, inbox me and ask me for them and I will send them to you. You will need these to decode what I'm showing you here. This is the natural lineage of the cards of illumination, the 52 cards. You have the suit of hearts, the suit of clubs, the suit of diamonds, and the suit of spades. That's the natural lineage of these cards. Red, black, red, black. They each have 13 cards. Here are your kings all the way at the bottom. Okay? So what you can do, folks, not only with your birthday, but you can also do your name on here. So Matthew's a number 29 in numerology. The 29th card is the 3 of diamonds, which, by the way, Donald John Trump, his birthday card is the 3 of diamonds. Once again, why I say these guys are time travelers. Abraham is a 16. The 16th card is the 3 of clubs. I want you to notice that his first and middle name is a master number 33. It's really interesting, is it not? And then his last name is the 5 of diamonds. Now another layer that you can observe from is through numerology with these outcomes. What I mean by that is you go to your numerology and you're going to type in 3 diamonds, 3 clubs, 5 diamonds. So you go here, you type in 3 diamonds, 3 clubs, 5 diamonds. That's what Matt Groening here. Matthew Abraham Groening. 29, 16, 31. 3 of diamonds, 3 of clubs, 5 of diamonds. Go to the numerology and type that in. 3 diamonds, 3 clubs, 5 diamonds. It gives you an output of 137. And this is where it gets interesting, folks. You type in, you go to numberempire.com, you type in 137, and it's the 33rd prime number. If you know anything about the 33, folks, that's one of their call signs. And I say they, I mean those that have the knowledge that don't share it with the world. I'm sharing it with you. This is the codes they go by. This is very advanced information that some of these people, they don't even know exist. But nonetheless, here's his 33. His cards through numerology end up becoming 137. That's a number 11, the number of magic when you reduce it down, and that's a 33rd prime number. So as you can see, there's great power in this guy's name. Massive power. And again, you know, Matthew is the 3 of diamonds, which is Donald Trump's birthday card. Another layer that you can observe your name from, folks, through numerology and the tarot is doing it this way. So we just did the cards of illumination. What about the tarot? Well, this is one of the lineages in the tarot, and this is right here. This is one way to discover your name through the tarot, folks. This is one of the spreads that I have, and it's using the numbers 1 through 77. A lot of people in the tarot, they go up to number 78 because they include the Fool card twice. Not to confuse you if you've never seen this before, but there's many ways you can observe the tarot and number these cards. There's not just one system. Just like there's not one brand of car, but cars all do the same thing. Kind of the same situation. So again, I'll send you this graph. Great power in this graph, in these numbers. So we go back to Matthew Abraham Groening, 29, 16, 31. The 29th card, the 16th card, the 31st card. The 8 of Wands, the Tower card, and the 10 of Wands. And I get those from here. Here's the 31st card right there. Matching his last name. Groening equals 31. The 31st card is the 10 of clubs. Well, what does that mean? Well, then, folks, what you can do is you can go to this website right here. Truly Teach Me Tarot. Where is it? Hold on a minute. No, it's not that one. Hold on, I'll find it. I have so many things open here. You can go to this website right here. My apologies. And you can read about these cards, folks. It's called trulyteachmetarot.com. Amazing website. So much information. It'll give you the keywords. Some of these things will pertain to you. Some of you will have the King of Wands as part of your name numerology and your birthday. A lot of great information. Okay? So I'm not going to go too much into detail on this, but if you need help, hit me up. I'll help you out. But you read from these cards, and you understand, like this card right here, London equals the number 31. London claims to be the crown. And this is the 10 of clubs right here. The 10 of Wands equals the 10 of clubs. The word crown equals 23. So it's all linked together. Okay? So let's go back and go to personality types now. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one. The personality type will be done through, where are we at here? This is 16personalities.com. There's also truity.com. There's a lot of them. This is my personality type right here. Extremely accurate. Yours will be extremely accurate. It's interesting. My name's Logan and I'm the logician according to this, but this is extremely accurate with the description of who I am. Okay? You're going to have one of these personality types. The way to find yours, you go to this and you take the free test. I'm going to leave the link in the description as well. It'll take you about 5 or 10 minutes to go through this. Okay, there's like 70 questions and that's 64, and then it'll give you your 4-digit or 4-letter code. Here's the 16 personalities. You're going to be one of these. And then you can read about who you are through this website. Okay? The human design, again, using the 64 numbers of the I Ching, 64 codons in our DNA, 64 squares on a chessboard. How do you get this one? Well, you're going to go to jovianarchive.com right here. And you're going to type in your birthday. You're going to you need your time of birth. You need your birth city. This is Matthew Groening right here. I didn't have his exact birth time because I can't find it online. But nonetheless, it's going to ask you for all this information. It's going to give you a specific type. There's 5 different types of personalities on the human design. When you find out your type, you just go type in manifesting generator, human design. So manifesting generator, human design. And you'll be able to read about what your type is. It'll tell you about who you are. And this has great accuracy, folks. What I want to point out is this is the specific chart for Matt Groening. You're going to have a specific one for you. You want to focus on these purple numbers right here that are circled. These are called gates. And when it's circled, that means you have one of these on. You can read from that. So this guy right here has 61 and 63. And all you have to do is go to Google. Google's your best friend in this thing right here. So gate 61, human design, and then you can read about it. See? The inner truth, the gate of mystery. So again, let me zoom in on that. So if you have the gate, if you have this purple number circled, that's gate 61. If these numbers are not circled, that means the gates are not on. There's a lot of moving parts to this, so I'm not going to get too crazy about this, but the most important thing is what type you are. You can also read about your profile. These are the main points: what type you are and what your profile is. You can type that in, profile 35 human design under Google, and you can read about who you are. And then what your gates are on that you have turned on. You want to read about those, and you can define that as well. Okay, so that's human design. What about the medicine cards and the animal tarot? These also match the 52 cards, like the 52 cards of Illumination. Here are the 52 cards of the animal, the medicine cards. And you can read about what kind of person you are through the animals. You can break it down from single. For instance, Matthew is a 29. So I can go over to the 29th card, which is the badger, and I can go read about the badger. All right? If your name equals the number 16, you'd go read about the raven. And you can start to figure out exactly how you function in this matrix reality through these cards. For instance, Matthew Groening was born on the 15th of February. Your birthday card will always be fixed on you, and he's the wolf. The wolf energy. That matches the devil card in the tarot. It's kind of interesting. And, right here, in the great star nation, wolf is represented by the dog star Sirius. So, is the dog star Sirius linked to the devil card? Very good possibility that's the case. But it will be up to you to make those distinctions if you have this card. And that gets me into the Totem Pole, because these go hand in hand, the Animal Tarot and the Totem Pole. Now, I did a specific video on decoding my great friend Santos Bonacci and doing his Totem Pole. He came and visited me in LA, and you only do this once in your lifetime, and you pull 9 cards, and I did a video on that. If you're interested in doing this Totem Pole for you and figuring out what energy you're living through, fixed energy you're living through, well, then you need to get the cards on Amazon. They're about $25. And then you pull your cards, and there's a specific way to do that. You can watch the video on how to decode yourself using your totem pole, or how to do your totem pole. Did a video on that. So I'm not going to spend any time on this. But you'll notice, each card is representing some parts of your life through the years of your life. And then, of course, what planet and what chakra, And it will give you great details about your life and what energy. Like Santos right now is living through the snake, which is all about transmutation. That's what that guy's doing. He's transforming the world through his knowledge. And he's in these years right here. So it puts things into perspective. It gives you the confidence to understand where you're going in this world. And then of course your birthday. He was born on March 24th. So for his entire life, he's going to be the crow. The crow is the card of secrets and reflection, teaching people about the reflection of their lives, showing them the other side. That's what this guy's all about. The crow. Crows are one of the smartest birds on the planet. Very smart individual. What's your birthday and what are you linked up to? And that's what you're going to get with these medicine cards. Very easy. If you're born on the 30th, you'd go over to the graph, and again, I'll send it to you, but you'd be the rabbit. You'd be linked to the rabbit. And then again, you'll have your name. So Matthew's a 29, 16, and 31. So you'd have Matthew would have the badger, the raven, and the turkey right here. And you'd be able to read from all three of those besides your birthday. Remember, you only do your totem pole one time. Okay, keep going here. We're almost done. Now we get into the tarot. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this as well because it goes really deep. I kind of already touched on the tarot. But you know, your birthday, whatever your birthday is, you can read from this graph right here. You know, obviously you don't go past 31. So this is the last card. That's related to the crown. If you were born on the 31st, you have direct links to the crown. And if you read yourself deeper and deeper, you're probably going to find that you really have a pivotal position in this matrix reality. But one of these cards will represent your birthday. You know, and then you can do your name like I did with Matthew Abraham Groening with his cards. You know, these right here. You can break those down, especially your last name as well. Great significance to your last name. And last but not least, the cards of illumination. I kind of already went through these, but I want to show you the website, my friend Sharon's website. It's called The Star of the Magi, MAGI.com. It's right there. And all you have to do is go down and, you know, Matthew Groening, born on February 15th. It doesn't ask for a year, it's just the month and day, but it'll tell you exactly what your card is. You know, and his card is the 10 of diamonds. 10 means crown. Once again, so, you know, it'll give great accuracy right here. And then you also can go to this chart right here and this chart. This is called your life spread, and then this is called your spirit spread. This would be your as above, and this would be your so below. This, to me, would represent your ego, and this would represent your spirit. So you can read from two different layers of who you are. And you know, this is Matt Groening's card right here. Right in the dead center. Almost. 10 of diamonds. He sits in the Jupiter line. And Jupiter right here. You have him running longitude and latitude. Vertically and horizontally. So he literally sits in the Jupiter line. That's what his card really represents. And then what you can do is you can go over to the spirit side and find the identical card, which is right here, and be the Queen of Clubs. So Matthew Groening uses the 10 of diamonds and the Queen of Clubs, and you can go read about those two cards and whatever your cards are. And there's other layers to this than just what I'm showing you. I'm just giving you the basics, you know, but there's massive accuracy to this, folks. Massive. So you want to utilize all these. Okay, and I think that's pretty much covers everything that I wanted to show all of you. That pretty much covers all the layers on how to decode yourself. The cards of illumination, the tarot, doing your totem pole that you only do once in your life, finding yourself through your medicine cards, the animal tarot, what kind of animal you're living through, your birthday's tied to one of those cards, the human design, the very accurate human design. It's very complex. I do readings on this as well. I do reports, individualize you reports. Your personality types, you're talking about psychology. Alchemy, of course, blending the energies together, finding out what element you are on the periodic table with your name numerology. Numerology and your life path and figuring out your first, middle, and last name. Your Mayan Astrology sign, and then what your natal chart's all about. And that's really how to decode yourself, folks. This has been a long video. Thank you so much for sticking with me. My apologies for jumping around a little bit. It's very hard to articulate and put all this thing into one lump sum. But nonetheless, remember, you can always press pause and go back. And remember, I'm going to put all the things in the description if you want to jump around. to make it easy for your navigation. So that's all I got for today. My name is Logan. This is Decode Your Reality. Thank you so very much for your support and watching.